So 2 years ago, my son was diagnosed as autism spectrum. It was no great surprise because since the moment he was born, professionals were flagging, like, oh, he's late to meet his milestones or he's got low muscle tone here. But really, the dead giveaway should have been for us when he had his class photo and he was told to wear his best clothes, and this is what he picked. I thought it was quirky. Turns out it's actually a syndrome disorder. So for me, the autism spectrum was always this very linear thing where we're all kind of up at one end where you're not autistic, and then you've got like Rain Man down at this end where you're very autistic. And I thought my son kind of fell somewhere between Rain Man and me. But it's actually about the way the brain processes information. So it takes into account so many things like language and your executive functions and your motor skills. So you could actually be very kind of, we call it neurodiverse in some areas, but really typical in others. For my son, a lot of his issues are around sensory issues. So the senses that are coming in from his eyes and ears and taste and movement and how your body feels are being translated abnormally in his brain, and they call it sensory processing disorder. What that means is things that are quite normal to you and me, like taking a bath, going for a walk in a wagon, having the seams of your socks touching your feet, sends him into complete sensory overdrive. So that leads to a complete meltdown where he just can't handle life. I'm middle class, so I like to just throw money at a problem to make it go away. So you can buy lots of stuff for people with autism. Weighted shirts, weighted pants, weighted blankets, things that anchor you in time and space, and they give you the sensory stimulation. But despite all of this, meltdowns still happen. A meltdown is really different to a tantrum because a tantrum is actually this great sign that your child's executive functions are working well. A meltdown is where reptilian brain takes over and it becomes fight or flight. And for my kid, it's fight. And I've lost count of the amount of times that I've been out in public and he's distressed and we're trying to hustle out of there. And someone just comes up to me and goes, that kid needs a smack. Like, that's really going to help, guys. We're really lucky in Australia. We have access to the National Disability Insurance Scheme. And it's actually one of the reasons we moved back to Australia from the States. Because autism is expensive. We spend about $2,000 a month out of pocket on therapies to help him cope with life. The NDIS helps, but it does come with its own challenges because it's got a mountain of paperwork about this big. It took us 9 months to get approved. Every 12 months you need to get approval again, and we just got our funding cut because 6 to 7 is like this really big deal where not autistic anymore. So a fun fact, if you're an engineer, you're twice as likely to have a child on the autism spectrum. My husband and I both work in technology. So that poor kid was fucked. So for me, the loneliest, most horrible part is the social isolation because you don't get invited back many places once your 6-year-old has just headbutted a baby. And that actually happened. So I've got some tips. If you're thinking of giving parental advice to anyone, not just parents on the spectrum, but anyone, just don't. We know. We know what we should do. We know what we shouldn't do. We know, okay? You can just leave it at that. Not really interested in what caused it. I'm interested in giving him the skills he needs for a valuable and happy life. But if you do think vaccines cause autism, come and have a chat to me. Oh, I've heard this one a lot. I'm glad he looks normal. That's really nice. I just saw him headbutt a baby, so I'm pretty sure that is not on the scale of what is normal and what is not. I've heard this one. I don't believe in God. I'm atheist, but I do believe in science, and science fucks shit up all the time. And on top of that, science doesn't care whether you can handle it or not. It just gives you life. And yes, I have tried essential oils. I have tried a gluten-free diet. I have tried a dairy-free diet, a sugar-free diet. We rub him with a special brush every 20 minutes. If there is some kooky thing out there that people say will help, we've tried it. So all you should say is you're doing an awesome job because it feels like I'm doing a shit job 99% of the time. Like my kid headbutted a baby, for God's sakes. So a little bit of kindness goes a really, really long way. And this applies to anyone going through a hard time. I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here if you want to talk. Because it's human nature to try and make you feel better, and people are like, well, like at least like he's got his legs. And yeah, that's nice, but it's still hard. So thank you very much. And also, I brought wine is a great thing to say. Thank you.